Okay, today we're going to explore this really profound shift in the relationship between us, humanity, and the Earth itself. And this isn't just a story told in data points and charts. It's a story told through a few incredibly powerful images that show a planet, our planet, at a really critical crossroads.
Just take a look at this picture for a second. At first glance, it looks like a really dramatic weather event, right? But it's so much more than that. This is a single, powerful frame in a much, much larger story. And it's a story that involves every single one of us.
So, what is the connection? I mean, how does a scene of drought and dust in one part of the world have anything to do with massive floods or raging fires or the actual reshaping of the land somewhere else? Well, that's the big question we're going to dig into right now.
It turns out these aren't separate, totally random incidents. They're actually all symptoms of a single connected global phenomenon. They're signs that we are living in a world of new extremes. You see it in the news all the time. Devastating floods in places like Western Europe, severe droughts hitting California, East Africa, and Brazil. All over the planet, our weather is just becoming more and more volatile. These aren't just one-off anomalies anymore. They're becoming the new, kind of unsettling norm. The one concept that connects all these dots, the engine that's really driving these changes, is something scientists have a name for. They call it the Great Acceleration, and it signals the beginning of an entirely new age for our planet.
So, to put it simply, the Great Acceleration is basically the period right after World War II, around 1950, when human activity just exploded. We're talking population, resource use, economic activity, you name it, everything started growing at a rate nobody had ever seen before in all of human history.
And what's really fascinating is how you can see this explosion visually. When researchers put all this data together, they expected to see these curves start rising with the Industrial Revolution. But that's not what they found. What they saw was that across dozens of different things, from population and GDP to fertilizer use and building dams, the lines all go almost vertical, like a hockey stick, right around 1950.
And to put that into perspective for you, the Industrial Revolution kicked off a kind of slow burn of human impact back in the late 1700s. But 1950, that was the real tipping point. That's when the fuse was well and truly lit. And that acceleration is still going. I mean, today, our global population grows by more than 200,000 people every single day. Our impact has become so profound, so planet-altering, that many scientists believe we've actually pushed Earth into a completely new geological era, the Anthropocene. Or you could call it the Age of Humans. It's an era that's not defined by ice ages or asteroids, but by us.
Okay, but how do we connect these abstract graphs and big geological terms to the real, tangible things we see happening in our daily lives?
This quote right here just captures it perfectly. Humanity is no longer just a passenger on planet Earth. We've become a primary geological force, We are shaping its systems more than any other single factor out there.
And one of the biggest ways we're doing that is by warming the planet. See, a warmer atmosphere holds more energy and it holds more moisture. And this doesn't just mean it's getting hotter, it means the entire system is getting more chaotic, more unpredictable. Basically, a warmer world is a wilder world. And this illustrates the consequences so well. On the left, you've got a flooded railway in Germany. That's a result of more moisture in the air leading to extreme rainfall. On the right, a wildfire in Brazil, fueled by the hotter, drier conditions that create severe drought. You have two different continents, two extreme events, but they share one common driver, an absolutely insatiable demand for resources.
And that demand? It's really centered in our cities. Now, they might only take up a tiny fraction of the Earth's land, but they consume a staggering 75% of the world's natural resources. And this is what that consumption looks like at the source. This is the Red Dog Mine in Alaska, one of the world's largest zinc mines. To power our cities and build this modern world we live in, we are physically reshaping the planet on a truly colossal scale. This is what the Anthropocene looks like on the ground. So, this all brings us to a really critical moment. The path we've been on has led us to right here. But the thing is, the future isn't written yet. We are now at what some are calling the carbon crossroads. The science on this is crystal clear. The decisions we make in the next few years will determine the climate for centuries to come. If we want to avoid the most catastrophic impacts, we need to make significant and lasting cuts to greenhouse gas emissions. And we need to do it now. Climate scientists have actually mapped out our potential futures. They use these scenarios called representative concentration pathways, or RCPs.
This chart shows how global temperatures could change based on how much greenhouse gas we emit. It's not a prediction. It's more like a menu of choices, and each path leads to a very, very different world.
Let's just look at two of those paths. On the left, you have a low-emissions future where we act decisively. Global temperatures would stabilize below that critical 2 degrees Celsius threshold. Now on the right, you have a high-emissions, sort of business-as-usual future. That path leads to a temperature rise of over 8 degrees Fahrenheit, which would trigger irreversible and catastrophic changes to the planet. The only difference between these two worlds is our choice.
So, the big question is, how do we choose that better path? How do we take those sharply rising curves of the Great Acceleration and start to bend them back towards something more stable, more sustainable?
Well, the solutions are complex, but they're pretty clear. It means a full-on renewable revolution in our energy systems. It means shifting to a circular economy where what we used to call waste becomes a resource. It definitely demands strong international agreements, and this is critical. It involves social drivers. For example, investing in girls' education is one of the most effective ways to slow population growth and build stronger, more resilient societies.
What this all really points to is a fundamental shift in our thinking. The goal can't be to just meet human needs at the expense of the environment anymore. The new goal has to be to meet those needs through the restoration and protection of the very natural systems that keep us all alive.
We've entered the Anthropocene. There's really no going back. For the first time in our planet's 4.5 billion-year history, a single species is consciously shaping its future. We have become a defining global force. So the only question that's left is what will we choose to define?